All right, here we go. This is my favorite story. I think, in the Bible. Well, in this part of the Bible at least. This is when Jesus. First of all, he had in this first part of the story, he had fed the people, which was a miracle, and they had the 12 baskets remaining. And then Jesus tells the disciples to go into the ship, and he goes up into the mountain. And I'll read it. And and they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into the ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he came up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out with fear. They probably thought they were either dead or somebody that they knew was dead. But they were like, oh my goodness, what? And Jesus, but Jesus straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. So there's a lot about the story that teaches me so much, which is why I like to read it every day. Number one, how funny. This made me laugh so hard because it was like, okay, I've been on a cruise ship before, and I remember looking out at night. And, I could imagine that all of a sudden, had I seen some sort of spirit or something weird out there, I would be like, oh my goodness, what in the heck? Can you imagine just looking out there and you see a man walking on the sea? I mean, come on. If you can. So the thing about reading these is imagining in my mind. When I imagine in my mind what the people felt like and what they did, and then I imagine Jesus, what he said, it is very, very great. So using my imagination to perceive what I'm reading here, it is really changing my life. So when and it's important for to know Jesus' attitude. He's like, be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. Again, with the not being afraid thing. So they probably couldn't see him that well because they were like, oh, if it's really you, tell me to come to the out in the water. And like, what's funny is Peter thinks immediately, well, I can do what he's doing because I know him really well. I've been with him now, and he does stuff. And if he's walking on the water, I can walk on the water. And he's going to help me walk on the water. And he said, and Jesus says, come on. That's no problem, no issue. So when Peter comes down, so the ship is on top of the water. He has to come down down from in the ship onto the water. He walked on the water. So I used to ask myself, did this mean that he really walked on the water? Did he step on the water and immediately starts falling down? But it seems like it means that he did walk on the water. He took some steps on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw, so this is important. When he saw the wind boisterous, So he's walking on the water, however long it was, and the wind is he can see the wind, so he's not necessarily seeing. I guess maybe either he's looking. It would seem like he wouldn't be looking at the sails, but anyway, but I guess he sees the wind, that the water is however he saw the wind or perceived the wind was boisterous, heard the wind was boisterous. He was afraid. Now, these two to me go together. This was like really, really important. He was afraid. Yeah. He was afraid and beginning to sink. As soon as he felt afraid, he began to sink. So I have to know that in my own life. As soon as I get into some sort of fear and taking my mind off of what I'm doing or what's possible when it seems impossible, as soon as I look around and see some kind of circumstances and become afraid, I'm going to begin to sink. Period. He cried. So he gets out of walking on the water to sinking, falling through the water. He starts crying, like screaming, becoming really afraid, because, you can imagine, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand right there. Jesus is right there with me all the time. And caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? So this is the part I would like to say over and over. O thou of little faith. And O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Because that's so important for me to know what it means. Wherefore? Where did you get the doubt? And what for did you start doubting? That's a great word, wherefore. Wherefore didst thou doubt? Why did you doubt? And he calls forth, he says, oh, you have little faith. So you got to understand, Jesus wants you to have a lot of faith, because you had some faith when you started. You have faith to believe to even begin to come out the ship. And now you get on the water out there, and you notice that the wind is like, and then you all of a sudden it's back up into fear and doubt. And then that's going to make you sink. Wherefore didst thou doubt? It's like Jesus is saying, you don't have to doubt. Why would you choose doubt? Where did you even get the doubt? It's really important. All right, so I love that one.